Hello again, and welcome back to the Slow Flowers Podcast with Deborah Prinzing, episode 493. This is the weekly podcast about slow flowers and the people who grow and design with them. It's all about making a conscious choice, and I invite you to join the conversation and the creative community as we discuss the vital topics of saving our domestic flower farms and supporting a floral industry that relies on a safe, seasonal, and local supply of flowers and foliage. This podcast is brought to you by slowflowers.com, the free online directory to more than 830 florists, shops, and studios who design with local, seasonal, and sustainable flowers, and to the farms that grow those blooms. It's the conscious choice for buying and sending flowers. And thank you to our lead sponsor for 2021, Farm Girl Flowers. Farm Girl Flowers delivers iconic burlap-wrapped bouquets and lush, abundant arrangements to customers across the U.S., supporting more than 20 U.S. flower farms by purchasing more than $9 million of U.S.-grown, fresh and seasonal flowers and foliage annually, and providing competitive salaries and benefits to 240 team members based in Watsonville, California, and Miami, Florida. Discover more at farmgirlflowers.com. For each podcast episode this year, we'll also thank three of our major sponsors. Our first sponsor thanks goes to Mayesh Wholesale Florist. Family owned since 1978, Mayesh is the premier wedding and event supplier in the U.S., and we're thrilled to partner with Mayesh to promote local and domestic flowers, which they source from farms large and small around the U.S. Learn more at mayesh.com. So, last week I made all sorts of grand and optimistic references to spring being just 39 days away. And this week, Mother Nature put me in my place, reminding me that no one can control the weather. In the Pacific Northwest, the Valentine's President's Weekend welcomed a Seattle snowstorm of all things, and all our hopeful little sprigs and sprouts are now covered in more than 8 inches of fluffy white snow. Beautiful, but a bit heartbreaking. Still, my conversation with today's guests did help me turn my gaze towards spring of 2021 with a new version of the Florvana Online Summit, a multi-day floral conference that Sean Michael Foley and Gina Thresher debuted in August of 2020. I'll tell you more about them before we jump to the full episode, but first the headlines. This is the third Florvana conference, and the theme is regeneration and sustainability, entirely fitting for a new year and a new season of growth. Florvana is dedicated to producing easy-to-obtain education in floral design, business, marketing, and other creative topics. Launched with a mission to help fellow florists and designers during the COVID-19 global pandemic in 2020, Florvana continues to share a virtual beacon of hope for this profession. And moving into 2021, the series continues with a goal of regeneration, rebuilding, and sharing inspiration with others, connected through a mutual love of flowers. With more than 20 presentations from leaders in the floral industry and related fields, the upcoming Florvana takes place online March 5th through 7th. You can find a link to register for free in today's show notes for episode 493. And we have a special bonus. The first 10 listeners who register for a free ticket to attend Florvana will receive a signed copy of Sean Michael Foley's new book, I Just Want to Design, the Designer's Survival Guide to Falling in Love with Your Business. We will run that promotion through Sunday, February 28th, and announce the winners on March 3rd, right before the next Florvana Virtual Summit begins. Here's a bit more about today's guests. Sean Michael Foley is a floral artist, life coach, photographer, and transformational author who helps designers and creatives navigate through their career and personal roadblocks. Sean has been in the floral industry for over 14 years, and his floral art is internationally recognized and published. He has worked heavily in the wedding and event industry and has designed and worked on hundreds of weddings. Sean is an accredited member of AIFD, the American Institute of Floral Designers, and a member of PFCI, which is Professional Floral Communicators International. He is well known for his Human Form Project, an anthology showcasing unique and sensual floral designs, enhancing the natural beauty of the human body. He was also selected as one of the 2016 Mayesh Design Stars. Sean has presented, showcased, and taught on both the national and international platform to the design community, including at state associations, the Philadelphia International Flower Show, AIFD National Symposium, and his own high-level workshops. By fusing his floral design background and his Reiki master teaching training, Sean created his coaching platform called The Artistic Journey, which guides creative minds to re-fall in love with their art and their business. He now lives in Fort Worth, Texas, where his design and coaching practice is based. Sean is joined today by Gina Thresher of From the Ground Up Floral. She's a returning guest of this podcast and a Slow Flowers member who is accredited by AIFD and EMC, which is the European Masters Certification. Gina co-created Florvana with Sean, and she has collaborated on the development and curriculum of the conference series, as well as presented at each of them. I credit Gina for inviting me to join Florvana as an instructor, and Regeneration will be my third appearance in this unique educational format. For the upcoming program, I'm co-presenting The Journey from Blog to Book with Robin Ovney, my partner in Bloom Imprint, the new boutique publishing arm of Slow Flowers. I'll share more about our course during the wrap-up. Let's jump right in and meet Sean, and welcome back Gina to the Slow Flowers podcast. You can find links to their social places in today's show notes, along with the sign-up link to register for Florvana, Regeneration, and Sustainability. Welcome back to the Slow Flowers podcast with Deborah Prinzing, and I'm delighted today to introduce two friends in the floral industry, Sean Michael Foley and Gina Thresher. Hi, I'm so glad to welcome both of you to the podcast.
Hey, how's it going?
Yeah, thanks for having us. I'm really excited to get a chance to chat with you.
Yeah, this is great. Well, some of you may recognize Gina Thresher as a pretty recent guest of the podcast. We did a fun little session at the very beginning of the year, which I called My Neighborhood Florist, and I had Gina on with Cindy Shrirock, and that was a blast. But you've all heard me, I think, talk about in the past 6 months participating with an online conference called Florvana. And Sean and Gina are the creators and co-hosts of Florvana, and another one's coming up with a completely new theme and sort of vibe, and I think it's really exciting for 2021. So I wanted them to come in and share about it. We'll all talk about how you can get involved and attend, and we have some really cool giveaways for people who do register, and I'll tease that at the end of the show. First of all, I want to start with Sean. Can you tell us where you're based? And I know you're both AIFD certified, and I know that Sean is also in PFCI, Professional Floral Communicators International, which I am also part of. So I feel like we've probably met in person, but it's mostly been virtual, thanks to COVID the last 6 months.
Yeah, I've actually didn't get to go to my PFCI induction because of the hurricane.
Okay, and, I wasn't at that one either, so we haven't met in person.
I don't know that we have, but I hope that soon we get to. But yeah, it's nice to get to build a relationship though virtually, and so we are both AIFD, and you, Deborah, and I are PFCI. So it's just kind of cool to, be in a couple of different circles. It's interesting how it always connects.
Gina has a few letters to throw at us too, in addition to AIFD. We'll get to her in a minute.
Yeah,
but where are you based, Sean? You're in Texas, right?
Yes. Yeah. I am in Dallas, Texas. I am technically a block into Fort Worth, but I do hang out more in Dallas. So I identify with the Dallas portion of it. But yes, I'm in the DFW area, and I am a transplant here. I originally was from Wisconsin. Then I worked in Birmingham, Alabama for about 5 years. And then I moved to Texas about 2 years ago. So that explains my muddled accent. I sound different. I never sound from wherever I live to wherever I used to live. And that's okay.
That's funny.
So right here in Texas.
You're pretty much designing your floral businesses under your name now. It's not a different company name, right?
Right. Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah, I mostly do. I don't do a ton of designing these days anymore. I did weddings and events for a good 15 years, and then I hit burnout pretty hard, which is ultimately why I wrote the book, which we will touch on that later with a fun little juicy tidbit for everybody. And so I now mostly do business coaching. I help people with marketing and sales, pivoting, salvaging their business, or where do they want to actually move to? And with 2020 being the year that it was a very do or die kind of year for a lot of people that are in the floristry, no matter which part of it you are, whether you're a grower, a designer, or weddings, it really doesn't matter. Every single part was affected equally as hard in its own way.
Mm-hmm.
And found ultimately in the chaos of that, about mid-year, I called Gina and I was like, we need to like do something. like everything's canceled, like everyone's panicking. And what do you think about doing a virtual summit? Because we've both been to business virtual summits before, or a couple of different ones. Social media, I think Gina's been to one, I've been to one.
Mm-hmm.
And we're like, why on earth couldn't you do this for flowers? Only let's expand on it. So it's not just design, it's also business and pivoting and technique and how to grow out of this versus, grit through it. And that's ultimately where Florvana was born. And I think from conversation to launch was maybe 8 weeks.
Yeah.
Gina, jump in. And I heard about it first from Gina, and she just, I think, let me back up. Gina and I bonded like many people did at the very last in-person conference of 2020, which was Trend Summit in Vancouver, BC. Hitomi Gilliam's down to the wire, wonderful conference that we all left and went home and quarantined from, and no one got sick, thank God.
Yeah.
But we were kind of in touch, and you reached out to me and you said, hey, I'm part of this thing called Florvana. Do you want to get involved? So Gina, you are an AIFD and EMC certified designer, and you're based here in the Pacific Northwest with a business called From the Ground Up Floral. And tell me about how you and Sean started collaborating to do something.
Yeah. So, like Sean said, we'd kind of gotten a little disheartened by the fact that everything was getting canceled. And, we're kind of on the same page as far as like, we watch a lot of outside the floral industry. People are doing great things with conferences and getting innovative and tech and business. And the concept's not new, but it's new to the floral industry. Absolutely. And like you said, we had been to several different ones in various, circles. And it just made sense. Like, why not offer this to the floral industry? It's not gotta be super overly produced. It's pretty down to earth. And I feel like that's what people need, especially right now. We've gotten used to seeing people on YouTube, and God, YouTube is just, it's blown up. People don't care if you have a fancy backdrop. It's nice, but like, it doesn't matter anymore. Anybody can kind of get on there, and it's about being authentic and being yourself. And that's how you grow a really good audience. So we really took that to heart. And, that's how we were able to do it so quickly. It's been a really fun experience.
Well, you know what? It's interesting hearing you describe that, Gina, because by designing a conference for virtual online platform from day one, it's not like you were trying to squeeze an in-person format into like scrambling to turn on the iPhone. So you figured out how to build participation in I think, a pretty inventive way. And so I'd never heard of something like this before, where you have I think ended up being 4 days. At first it was going to be 2 to 3, but 4 days of presentations that are literally free if people can, for the in the moment, the time it airs. And then if they want to capture the whole library of presentations, then there's a pretty affordable buy, which then gives them lifetime access or something like that. Am I characterizing that correctly, Sean? Or
yeah, it's exactly right. You can watch it for free live in the moment. But if you want to, if you just can't sit there for a couple of days, which it's a lot to take in, we average about 25 to 30 presentations per summit. So this year we have 3 days. The last 2 we had 4 days. We do have just as many presentations. We're just tweaking a little bit the way we format.
You're like mission creep. Pretty soon it's going to be 12 days.
Yeah, there's definitely a line between practicality and people actually retaining. So we want you to actually get something out of coming to the summit. Like, holy goodness, like that's just way too much.
Yeah.
So we're doing it for 3 days this year, but yeah, free to come live and watch. You just need to pre-register for that free ticket. But we do offer, like you said, it's a very affordable upgrade to get a VIP All Access Pass. And that does give you all of the recordings of the summit. You have lifetime access to watch them whenever and wherever you want. And you can watch them from your smartphone, your tablet, your computer. There's no limitation. That's what's nice about this. And with that upgrade as well, we have some other perks too. It's not just the videos. You do get to join us for our presenter roundtable Q&A sessions, which is one of my favorite parts. I think Gina and I both, we spend a lot of email time back and forth with presenters and maybe a couple of quick phone calls, whether we're talking someone off the ledge about recording or if we're helping them with their idea. But we get to actually talk to them about the process, especially if this was maybe their first time presenting virtually or the first time presenting on the topic we asked. And I think that's been a cool thing as well. Some people you may know for their design work, but you really didn't know that they were really great at customer retention. So let's have them talk about it so that you get to afford them a different platform to voice a different type of topic than maybe you've known.
Before we go on any further, I have to just ask, where did the name Flurvana come from? Because it's kind of cool to have just like this iconic single word that it sounds like an extravaganza, but also flowers. But what's the origin of that?
So honestly, I had the name Flurvana tossing around in my head for months. I had no clue what it was for. Then, and Gina can attest to that too. I'm just like, something needs to be called Flurvana. I don't know what it is. This is before we even talked about doing a summit. And then we had the convo about doing the summit. Lightning kind of struck. And we were just like off to the races, like, okay, get presenters. And I remember Gina's like, I know Deborah Prinzing. Do you know her? I'm like, I don't know her yet. Talk to her. It was just really
we were like, go.
Go. It was very rapid fire. And they were like, what should we call it? I'm like, should we just call it Flurvana? And we're like, done. Edit. So, but to dissect it, we like the fleur for for flowers.
Right.
And vana meaning the peaceful, like nirvana, like it's that more peaceful state of thing. And we wanted the whole vibe to be not chaotic, not rushing. Everyone's on an equal playing field. And the name, although it came before the summit was decided, sometimes that's how your inspiration works, is you get this idea. And free tip to those who are listening, when you get these ideas and you don't know what they're for, write them down in your journal.
Yes.
You will use them later.
I love it. Well, that's sort of a tip that I plucked out of for the writing workshop is, just write. So, everything can be reused somehow. Don't waste it.
We joke about that a lot. We always say, future Gina or future Sean.
Well, thank you.
They will thank you for that. Or we'll get to talking like, oh yeah, past Gina did a really great job on writing that out because it's already done.
I love it. I have to say, I was so grateful for the invitation, Gina. Not that I didn't have anything to do with my time, but I feel like by creating this conference framework, you are pushing all of us to try new things and to use technology and digital in a different way. And just because of the, COVID did kind of afford us all to, regroup and rethink. It just was like a door you opened that I was really, I was nervous, but I was really excited to try recording an online course. And Gina's point was, just figure it out because you can build on this. And I was really appreciative of that.
Yeah. And I got that push from Sean. So it snowballs.
So, Sean, what you talked about it being kind of egalitarian, I think it was really one of the refreshing parts about this, in that there are people with credentials behind their names. There are people who are, operating in a completely different platform and aren't really interested in that. And also, you had non-floral professionals in other kind of lifestyle categories, and that, I felt like that it's more like you addressed the whole person, rather than, like you said, maybe the business side, or maybe it's the emotional mental health side. It's not just making bouquets.
Yeah, it was that was an important thing for us as well, because we knew going into it that we didn't want it to only, like I mentioned, like we didn't want it to only be design, because when you're in crisis, learning new tips and techniques aren't really what the life raft you need. You need more like, okay, like I am going crazy. I see my whole shop going up in mental flames in front of my eyes. And what do I do? And so we're like, okay, like I had a friend who was an astrologer. I'm like, should we do something about creative astrology? Why not? Let's go for it. With this type of a platform, like we did essential oils too, like with this platform, we can try different things that maybe haven't been easily accessible, that do parallel our industry or are a little bit of maybe an extra filament to it.
Oh, I like that. Yeah, like a parallel subject matter that is completely going to appeal to the same audience.
Yeah. And when we reached out to our like non-floral people, for lack of a better term, first they're like, why on earth would any of your people want to listen to me? And I'm like, because what you have to say is cool. I'm like, so just frame it around creativity. Like it's just shaping the message into the avenue in which it's received. And some of our biggest compliments were on the non-floral presentations.
Well,
we could like the floral as well, but I think they just liked that it was different.
Well, I'm thinking back to so there were two in 2020, and the first one, Gina did a whole presentation on the juggling act to be a successful mompreneur, and I think that struck a chord with a lot of people, Gina, because it was so relatable and kind of a universal challenge that many people with kids at home were dealing with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I still get people, on Facebook, like, oh man, I'm having a baby this year. Like, how the heck? And you remember me carting around my daughter at the wholesale market. Like, you make it work. And there's so many different schedules that have to come together. So just keeping it streamlined. Yeah, it was very interesting. And it was just a different topic that really helped people at the time. And that's kind of what we try to do, especially, we even had like farmers and farmer florists and stuff on, like, giving us compliments, like, hey, that was really cool. Like, to see that from a florist perspective. Now I kind of know. And I felt the same way about Tonelli did one, working with your local growers. Like, I thought that was fabulous. Like, and
it was neat.
I kind of probably took that a little too seriously, because now I know 13 rose bushes deep and packets showing up, and
I got to come over and see your garden. Well, so you kind of had almost like seasonal themes for the first two. You had like the kickoff was sort of the summer, and then you went into holiday. Tell me about the one that's going to be in March. I think the title is really, really exciting. It's I've got it up on my screen here, and now I've got to find it. It's help me out, Sean.
Regeneration.
Sustainability and regeneration. Sorry. I love it. Join 25 plus expert speakers over 3 full days for the Florvana Virtual Summit, March 5th through 7th. So the whole vibe of your branding and all the graphics that you've shared on social media and your videos, it's green and it's water and it's like life. And what a perfect thing to, and yes, quote unquote, it's springtime. By the time this airs in March, spring will be a few weeks later, but there's more meaning, I think, behind your choice of this topic, isn't there?
Oh, absolutely. So we knew last year we would do something in spring, but that was all we had written down.
Yeah, we even kind of were thinking it would be more wedding, but
in another year, it might have been perfect for wedding, right?
Not the time.
Yeah, originally we had, like Gina said, we had thought maybe a wedding thing, but we're like, it's not vibing. Like
Yeah.
we're
No.
not feeling.
We're
It's
not
what
ready.
people need. People don't need it right now.
Mhm.
And we really felt too like there have been other summits that have happened. There's other things out there. I don't know that it's a market we needed to even do.
Mhm.
Like it's. I don't think there's a lack for it. So I kind of put that on the table, and then we were just kind of brainstorming around. Like I think it needs to be about like 2020 was really destruction, having things shown for what they are, a clearing out the rot type of year. And from that, there's a ton of silver linings. But 2021 is about growing back. It's about growing back stronger than you did before, maybe growing back in a different way you didn't expect. So then ultimately it's regenerating. That's what growing back is. So we're like, okay, regeneration. And it just stuck. And I was actually just kind of tootling around on the website Fiverr, unpaid plug there. But I was just looking, I'm like, let's just kind of up level a little bit this year with our intro video. And the water graphic, which you guys will all see if you see any of our marketing.
We'll share it in the show notes. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. It stopped me in my tracks, and I was like, that whole yes, that like I couldn't even speak like the words. And
I know, I loved it. When you sent it to me, I was like, oh my God, it's amazing. Perfect.
Like, look, us, we've grown up. That from that video, the topic regeneration in that video, all of the branding emerged. And when I think of like regrowing, I think of a refreshing feel of water, just pure water, washing away the dirt, the bad emotion. Like even just think of like how sometimes when you've had a rough week or a rough month, just taking a hot soak with like your oils or salts, how refreshing it is for your soul.
I think that's why people do that polar bear plunge on New Year's Day. Like just clean it out and wake me up.
I grew up in that type of weather. I personally think they have other reasons, but that's okay.
That's why you like the hot soak.
I'm pretty sure it's a hold my beer moment.
Yeah. But
got it.
I have
whatever floats your boat, though.
I would imagine you leave your body at least for a minute with that type of cold.
Yeah, and then you're
not. But
back to your idea of how there's the whole metaphor of water is just so aligned with what you want to achieve with this, right?
Yeah, and with the whole thing, we're going more sustainable, and we're going to give you the full credit because you put that idea in our head at the last summit, and we're like, we need to
do.
You mean when I was texting you and saying too much foam, we got to get rid of this? And not to throw anyone under the bus.
No shame.
No, there's no shame. And two, like our approach to sustainability is we don't foam shame people or like anything like that, but I think you need to just provide alternative ideas because I think most people just aren't aware. And with things like that, that's like showing like things like AgriWool or just here's different ways to use like natural mechanics, or here's why specifically the floral foam is proving a problem environmentally. I just don't think there's enough awareness on it. And so I think it's really trying to bring awareness in a kinder way to people on here, ways you can transition into a greener or at least a more ego-minded business practice. Because it doesn't take a ton to shift, but if you don't give people the how portion of it, it does seem impossible.
That's a good point.
And it hurts to be foam shamed. I mean, maybe you don't know there's a better option, or maybe that, the design you had in mind, that's how you came up with the concept, is using that material. But there is a better way. There's always a different way. That's like Hitomi Gilliam's words completely. There's always a different way.
Well, right. And like one of the top, I know there's 25 or so presentations, but the Sustainable Floral Mechanics and Techniques is one that kind of weaves through several of the presentations. And Gina, you and Rebecca Raymond are going to do some kind of epic floral presentation and touch on a number of different mechanics, right?
We are. We got a lot of really great people involved. I wouldn't call them sponsors, but I mean, like I bought the products because I love the products. And a lot of it's working together and showing ways that it was just going to be an installation at first. And then I got a photographer on board and she's like, well, let's make it a styled shoot. And I'm like, well, heck, maybe I'll contact these planners I work with and they can do a tablescape. And it just kind of started to snowball and I got a lot of people excited about it. So we're going to be doing a very tall installation piece. We have models and it's just kind of escalated to a whole style shoot. So
that's amazing.
It's really fun to see the behind the scenes. The behind the scenes and prep work is going to start on Monday.
So Gina, but people are going to watch this on the platform of Florvana, like on a video, but you have other plans for, and like the photos will be used for a story or something like that.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Yeah. It's, I like to dual purpose things. I figure if you're going to do something, you might as well do it to its full extent, get all the use out of it you can, which is another theme with, regenerating. You reuse, repurpose. So this is going to be like, I'm getting my headshots done in the morning. We're going to take a video the whole time. My friend Courtney Bolden, she was actually on the first Florvana. She's going to be photographing everything. The planners will have the table set up. We have a very, very cute elopement venue that we're going to be using, and the ceilings are like 20 feet high. So we're going up, and it's going to be dripping down. It's going to be really fun. Oh
my gosh, that's exciting! Wow, and that's just one of more than 24 sessions. Sean, you're going to present on let's just talk about this. Sean, your idea of reboot and restart and regrowth, it's not just in floral design techniques. It's more with your business in mind and how you're going to jolt yourself into 2021. So I think your topic, how to book yourself solid, is going to appeal to a lot of people because I think that's another challenge to push yourself and get yourself out there.
Yes. I would say for just the clients I've coached and people who have reached out to me just in general over the past few summits, there is a bit of an art to booking yourself solid, but the irony of it is it's actually not hard. We make it way harder than it needs to be. So I've been fortunate to be able to kind of like get a bit of a strategy that works, and I've had clients use it, so it does work. It's not just take my word for it, kids, bye. So it does work out. And but yeah, to book yourself solid doesn't actually mean working yourself to death. I think that's the confusion, and I used to believe that too, and ultimately why I got out of weddings, because I was like, there is no more me left to go around. And I've already borrowed energy from next year. Like there's just not, there was no way to make more money without, there's nothing left to give.
Giving up sleep, right?
Yeah. And I'm a big advocate for, you got to take care of you. Like you need to make sure that you're doing a business you've modeled your business to a way that suits you and your lifestyle. Like if you're even just as simple as if you're not a morning person, craft your business to where you can work more in the afternoon and evening. There are no rules saying you can't do that. You just have these social constructs.
Yeah.
So I'll be going into a bit of that. It is some techniques on how to just get started, and to also just piggyback off of what Gina said about repurposing things is just document what the heck you're always doing. Like if you do a normal day, just take pictures and videos of it. Like it doesn't always have to be a big complex strategy. It doesn't need to be a big complex undertaking. One thing I hear a lot from people is, I'll do that when I have time. We all know that is a verbal, I will brush it under the rug and never do this, because time expands to the reality in which it's presented. So like you either always have enough time or you have no time. There's no pockets of it where you'll all of a sudden want to do it.
It's just what it's what you tell yourself.
Yeah.
Yep. Exactly.
So Sean, this How to Book Yourself Solid, it sounds like it has a like a subhead or a footnote, which is without burning out or something like that, or to balance your life. Or I mean, it's like a cautionary tale.
Yeah, it's more than just being busy. You can book yourself solid without being crazy busy.
Mm-hmm.
And it usually just takes a couple of, I would like to say, let's pop open the hood of your business. Let's see what's making it tick. And it's usually just a couple of lifestyle tweaks and some pricing tweaks. And also actually tell people you have things for sale. A lot of people forget that step.
Yeah, I was going to say that's a big step right there that you're missing, is how to book yourself solid and be making money. Because it doesn't matter if you're running yourself ragged and booked solid if you're not going to make money.
I think it's implied. If it's coming from Sean, it's implied.
Yeah,
it should be implied, but like if you're not, and no, it's not all about money, but at the end of the day, if you're just, you pay for it one way or another. It's either in money, time, stress, or effort. And if you're not being reimbursed somehow from that with what you're doing in general in your business, what's the actual purpose then?
Yeah.
If it's not to make a living, then it's just a way to self-assess. Are you actually doing what you want to do?
Yeah.
It's
I
really
love
what it is. If you're in alignment with it, you can make a great living. Especially doing flowers. Like, there's a lot of money to be had in flowers. I'm sure a bunch of people just cringed and gasped, but you can make a great living at this, and doing it ethically, fairly, and having a good time.
Okay, I like that sermon. I'm going to sit in the front row. Gina, you have this particular hat you wear, which is new technology for florists, or kind of like demystifying platforms and apps and software. So task management with Trello is one of the other presentations you're giving. And tell me how that's coming together, because you've been teaching Trello to people already.
Yeah. So I'm still like chomping away at that course. It's happening, but to kind of explain, I use like a lot of different software. Rebecca was sitting next to me the other day and she's like, did you just use like 5 different operating systems? No, it's apps, technology, software.
Yeah.
But it was really kind of eye-opening, and she's been really great. And I mean, everybody's been really great at giving me advice on like, oh, I don't understand that. Like, can you walk me through that? So I've been kind of taking all of those steps that I do, to get myself marketed out there, and what I use on a daily basis, what I use for creating my weddings, creating my mood boards. It's a big part of it. So like the top 3 are Trello, Dubsado, and Canva, of course. So I've kind of mashed them all together and put them in a little mini course. Actually, it's not a mini course. They're each a mini course, and they're lumped together in this big, nice package.
Right. They're bundled.
That'll be coming out soon. And I know we had talked about it before, but it's going to be really epic when it comes out.
Well, and this is just, if people join Florvana in March, they'll be able to sort of get a teaser for like an introduction to what the larger course would be.
Yeah, and it kind of has switched a little bit. It's probably not going to be as Trello heavy, but because Dubsado is actually having their birthday sale coming up in March as well. So I actually have been contacting them, and they're really excited because I'm doing a webinar for them as well this month, and that's going to be a big part of it, because Dubsado's it's kind of a powerhouse for floral software as far as like managing clients goes. It's a great CRM, and I've done our workshops through it. As you have talked about virtual florist workshops, I've done that. You can manage weddings. It's basically what I use to run every client. So.
How do you spell it, Gina?
It's DUBSADO.
Okay.
And that name has a really cute story. So if you go look them up, you can find that story. It's really a cute story.
Most of you are hearing this for the first time because it's kind of a new platform. So I'm excited. Mm-hmm. And that's the other kind of thing I think about Florvana is you do tend to feature presenters who are early adopters or kind of influencers in their on their subject, Sean and Gina. And I feel like that's part of curating a whole conference, is to get that mix, and bring new ideas to the floral community. So I'm excited to see the whole lineup. I'm also excited to be part of it again. Can I talk a little bit about what I'm going to be teaching?
I really would love to hear it. Yes.
So many of you listeners know that Robin Ovney, a longtime friend of mine in the publishing world, and I started Bloom Imprint in February. We announced it as, I think it was the end of January, a new book publishing arm of Slow Flowers. And I've had, talk about folders, Sean. I have had a folder on my computer for probably at least since 2014 that's called From Blog to Book Proposal, or From Blog to Book, something like that. And I just kept dumping ideas in there. And a lot of, I mean, if you're a book author, and you know this, Sean, everybody you know wants to do a book, and everybody wants to pick your brain and get your input. And it's sort of like having a podcast too, Gina. You know that, like, people want to know, how did you do it? So I have all these, kind of ideas about helping people get from just an idea to, I can't promise them a book, but a book proposal. So when Robin and I finally started Bloom Imprint, I said, we've got to do something with this. We've got to create a webinar and demystify the book creation, at least for artists and creatives and floral people. So this is going to be our 30-minute kind of preview of what could eventually become a larger webinar. I think our plate is pretty full publishing books, so maybe not right away, but we're going to at least give people kind of like we were saying, Sean, about always photographing. We're going to give people some things that they can be doing and should be doing now if they anticipate creating a floral-driven book in the future. So we're going to, and Robin is an award-winning photo editor at the newspaper level and magazine level nationally. So she's going to talk about things relating to photography, and kind of how to create what we call a visual storytelling language. And then I'll talk about the verbal storytelling language. So it'll be great. And, we know we have to write it and record it for you in about a week. So it's on the to-do list.
It'll get done. It always gets done.
It does. It always gets done.
You two have you're so chill. I love it. It's just the greatest kind of energy to bring into something like this, where you're managing all these creative people with different, ideas and points of view. And somehow you're melding it all together in a just balanced way. I love it.
Well, thank you. It's there may be a few behind the scenes moments where it's not that way, but on
It'll freak out.
But it's like, oh my God, did you hear from this person yet? What's going on? And then it's like, oh no, everything's fine. Okay. So,
deep breath. Yeah.
Yeah, deep breath, and everything's fine. But also too, it's like anything. And when you've done it a couple of times, there becomes an element of routine, and then you realize, like, okay, we really don't need to stress. You just know where to level set your expectations and where your actual anxiety or your stress should actually go. Because and for some people listening, if you feel every single step of the piece of running your business should have an equal level of stress, I'm going to tell you right now, no. There's like one or two cogs in every single machine that need to be worried about. Everything else should be fine. So we've kind of gotten, now that we've got the experience of it, it's not quite so stressful. So each time we can offer a little bit more to our presenters. We can roll it out a little bit earlier. Like we did get to roll out a couple weeks earlier this time, so we could do a soft launch and start getting presenters lined up sooner and things like that. So you get more under your belt, and that helps you keep the chill vibe going, so you're not stressing out everybody.
So Sean, do you have any idea of how many people have watched the first two Flirvana sessions? I know it's in the thousands.
Oh yeah, we had with the first two combined, we gave away, I believe it was 2,400 free tickets total.
Wow.
And those are some are returning, but even so, like it has grown our email list astronomically with it, because I think when we started, we had an email list of about 200 people,
Mhm.
And now it's at, I think we just rolled over 2,500
Mm-hmm.
times. So and we've
Mm-hmm.
already got, at time of recording this, about 300 people already signed up early bird for this summit. So it's cool that people are still interested, because you always run the risk of doing it too much.
Yeah.
Or is it retaining its value? Are people still wanting to show up and be present? But yeah, they seem hungry for it, and so we're here. So we're here to help.
Well,
So
yeah, and I think like your decision to postpone a wedding themed conference and focus more on personal and professional development and growth is kind of just an acknowledgement of where we're at in society. And I think that we've all been kind of, I hate to say it this way, but like beaten into submission. Like we know the only way we can connect is through Zoom and through, other, sort of virtual platforms. And so we're kind of accepting that now and realizing this is the new reality, at least for the moment. And if we want to, grow and stay relevant, this is the tool to do it. And you're delivering new content is super timely, and we're already hearing about major national conferences in the floral space being in-person canceled. The in-person ones many are being canceled already or rescheduled for 2022. So let's just max out this platform and meet people where they're at.
Right. And it's we have never in known history of human existence, we've never been this, or let me rephrase, we've never had this ability to be this connected without seeing each other in person. So to not work with that, I think would be kind of a shame, because it is this simple. I mean, yes, a lot goes into it, but like when it comes down to it, we send you a link, you click the button, you get to watch all of these presenters. Like it's that easy now.
Yeah.
Like even just 5 years ago, it wasn't that easy.
Or affordable. It used to be, you needed it, like Gina talked about production value. You used to have to hire people, and now you can just get a little stand for your iPad and film your own content.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There's nothing stopping you anymore. I mean, I've seen 80-year-old grandmas on TikTok. Like, come on, do this. You can do it. It's not, it's just taking that first step, pushing the record button. That's all it is.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are afraid they're going to screw it up, quote unquote. But I don't know anyone off the top of my head who has enough knowledge to screw up an iPhone or to delete TikTok or to you will not, whatever you screw up will be fixable.
And the beauty of digital anything is it's not like you're wasting expensive print film. I mean, you just hit delete and start over. So
yeah. Right. Yeah, you can always start over. Just start.
So okay. So you're in the mode of getting people to register. We're past early bird now, right? Or
we have super early bird. Now we're in early bird. So we do stair step up. So the sooner you register, like we said, that free ticket you can get up until the day before we go live. At that point, it's a little too challenging for us to squeak people in. And honestly, it'll have been out for 6 weeks at that point.
Yeah, you've had your chance.
Draw the line somewhere. But to upgrade for the VIP All Access Pass, it gets... price goes up as we get closer. We keep it as low as we can for as long as we can. But we do reward people for signing up early, and that's why we offer a cheaper price. Right. So that way you can get in, you can get a price break, and we do keep it pretty affordable.
So was it by the time this airs, which is going to be the 17th of February, it'll be at $97 for the All Access VIP Pass?
$97.
Okay. Yeah. That's good. I mean, when you think about how many hours of presentations and how many different presentations you're going to have access to, there's nothing that compares with that pricing.
Yeah, it's pretty. We think it's pretty generous, and with it too, we wanted to always keep this accessible. I think that was a key element missing from a lot of other just in-person shows we've been to. Like we've all been to probably a countless list of different in-person shows, workshops, seminars, you name it. And
they're not free.
No, they're not free. And I think too with it, like, yeah, it's free. We have some, you have to watch it right then and there. But with that, when you upgrade it, we keep it pretty affordable.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
It's never out of reach.
So we're going to have the link in the show notes for today's episode 493 with Sean Michael Foley and Gina Thresher. And I'll have that link. And Sean has a special offer for the first 10 people who just click on the link and register. And you just register to get the free ticket. You can upgrade if you want, but that's optional. But Sean has a fun personal book that came out last year, I guess, coinciding with COVID, called I Just Want to Design. And he's going to give the first 10 people a copy. And that's so generous, Sean. Tell us about the book.
Oh, yeah, I'd be happy to. First, I'm just happy to be able to have this opportunity to talk to your audience for a little bit. So I wanted to give a bit of a thank you back to those of you who are listening. So I will sign. These are real copies. It's not one of those bait and switch. Here's a virtual copy.
Good, exciting.
Real actual physical copies of my book, and I'll sign them for you guys for the first 10 who sign up for the free ticket.
And we're gonna limit that to U.S. addresses, so Sean doesn't have to fork over tons of money.
So, but it's in the U.S. However, if you do sign up and you're outside of the U.S., I can send you a virtual version.
Like your PDF version or whatever.
The ebook if you would like. So we'll get you something.
Got it.
Gotta have a line somewhere. So I mentioned a little bit earlier, I wrote the book after I went through a huge industry burnout, working in weddings just nonstop. And I got to a point where I hated the work, I hated the industry, and I hated my life. So I needed to figure out, this is not, you get to that rock bottom part where you're like, this is not going to work. I am not happy. I should not be this miserable doing what I think I love to do. Mm-hmm. So I went on a bit of a sojourn with it, and when it got my Reiki mastership and a bunch of other things. And what I started to learn as the fog lifted of this burnout was I couldn't find a person out there or a program out there that helped florists or creatives actually work through this thing, because it's a very real problem. I think the industry burnout level is huge. And the thing is, a lot of times we don't identify that we are going through burnout or have burnt out until long after it's happened. And that's, I think, the biggest myth is you think it's easy to see. And for me, I was looking back on it, I was in full burnout mode for a solid 3 years. And then, so I wrote the book basically as, my love letter back to the industry. And I had to, over that couple of years, just really cherry pick, okay, this technique really worked for me as a creative, and this helped me figure this step out. This technique helped here. So I had to put together a comprehensive process that would work for the creative mind. We think differently. We're a different breed. We're not really the let's sit down and learn this type. We're very experimental, we're very hands-on, we're very visual, we're also very emotional people. So it kind of covers all of that with it.
That's wonderful.
So
I think I might have told you this, but I worked at a very large international nonprofit years ago, over 25 years ago, and as the PR director, and I was miserable in that job. And I had a colleague who was director of development, and he was miserable too, but he had this sign in his office over the door that said, "Leave me alone and let me be excellent." And I loved that sign so much, because it it talked about the fact that if I could just do my beautiful work, I would be happy. But you're making me go to meetings, you're making me do HR, you're making me, manage people, all the things that take away excellence. So that's your title of your book. It strikes a chord with me, Sean, and I think it applies to a lot of us where we're successful, but we aren't happy, and we find ourselves in that rut.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was ultimately how I landed on the title. Was I actually, that was what I struggled with the most. Like, I wrote the whole book. It was already like about to go off to the editor, and I'm like, I can't figure out the title for this thing. And then finally it was like, what does it all boil down to? What's the common pain point that so many florists have? And it's like, they just want to design. They don't want to deal with all this other stuff.
Yeah.
They don't want to go through all of the stress of all of this. Why is it so hard? I'm like, okay, I'm going to decide. We're going to cut, print, edit, send it off. Can't change my mind. And the tagline of it is the Designer's Survival Guide to Falling in Love with Your Business. Because it is a bit of give and take. You've got to love your business and your career if you want to be successful.
Right. So when you started coaching, is that how Gina, you started working with Sean, or had you known each other through AIFD?
So actually, I got a copy of this fabulous book, and I read it like in a weekend, I think. And Sean and I had talked while I was reading it, and I was like, I'm in, like, sign me up. I had been looking for a coach for a very long time. And actually, we did an interview about this previously, and I need to publish it. But it's a fabulous book for, I think, not just florists. It does touch on a lot of people's creative businesses at a deep level. But yeah, it helped. It really did, because I was struggling with as a florist, we not only provide like service, but we also have product. So it's very hard to find somebody who knows the industry and understands, as a business coach, understands what we're dealing with on a day-to-day basis, as far as like, okay, yeah, I have to manage this wedding client. She needs me to hold her hand, on top of, I have to get a dozen roses out the door. Need to make sure the product's prepped, ready to go, how to market those things, how to turn around and sell a wedding versus how to do subscription services. There's so much that has to go on in your brain. It's literally exhausting. And I was at that point where I was getting really frustrated, and I didn't know what to do anymore. I'm like, I don't know which way to turn. Like, do I do this? Do I do that? And that book really turned a page. Like,
that's neat. And that's how you first described Sean to me too. You said you were working with a coach. And then now I see like you're kind of, look where it led. I mean, you're kind of in this whole conference producing education part, which Gina, you're so good at. You're such a good instructor. And, we are mentoring people now. And it's just really cool to see that you kind of hit your own rock bottom and found each other.
Yeah.
I don't mean it in that way, but you hit your wall. You hit your wall.
You do hit a wall, and it's nice to have somebody that is in the same industry, because I'd had other, I dabbled in getting other business coaches and stuff, but they couldn't really grasp the concepts that I was dealing with. Like they didn't realize like, oh, she's actually selling services and products, and it's hard because you have to listen with both ears all the time. So. Yeah. Interesting.
Well, I know you have all kinds of other ambitions of things you're planning to do together. Before we wrap up, is there any kind of like, I don't know, horizon that you can point us to and say what's next? Or shall we just get through the sustainability and regeneration summit and then turn the page and see what's next?
I think we can tease a little bit of some things that would be down the road. We won't give away too many specifics because, they have to be built. They have to be created. And the journey between the what and the end result is always not a straight line.
Okay. Okay. And I don't want to put you on the spot. So we can.
I like trick questions like this.
It's a good one because I'm like,
Yeah. So what are we up to? So we do plan on offering another summit later in the year, but just bear in mind they're always a different theme, always different. We do try and get at least 50% new speakers each summit. Sometimes it's a little more because we don't want it to ever get stagnant. And we do, keep our analytics in mind too. It's like, who is the most engaging? And so, we do hear you guys, like if you have requests. So that will be down the road at some point. Once we're able to meet in person again, we probably will be offering some sort of in-person thing. But like I said, that is about as far as the brainstorm has gone because we're not there yet. as a nation. So until COVID gets a little bit more under control, more people are vaccinated, and it's safer, we're not going to ever compromise the safety of anyone for the sake of profit. So that will only be once it's safe. So down the road, yes, there will be some interesting newer things coming out as well, digitally. So we are working on putting together the Florvana Vault, which is because now we'll after this summit we'll have almost 100 presentations in less than a year. So we're trying to find ways to still get access to people. So they're amazing presentations. So it's like finding
like
new
a gold vault.
I like that word, vault. Okay, so if somebody does sign up, say for this March one, they're going to go into your mailing list, so they'll get notified when these new things, new products and programs are announced, right?
Yep.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
That's great. Anything you want to add, Gina, before we wrap up?
No, thank you so much for having us both on. We appreciate it so much. And I really look forward to chatting with you guys. If you get VIP, come on in. It's a big, just roundhouse of awesome people. So if you sign up, we'll see you there. If you don't sign up, that's cool too. We're really happy that you opt in for the free version, and we're there for any questions you have, comments. We love to hear it.
It's exciting. Okay, well, we'll get some people signing up, and maybe some lucky folks will get copies of Sean's book, and I'll make sure everyone knows how to find and follow both of you and the Florvana platform, and I will get going on my course, I promise.
We know you will.
Yeah, it'll get there.
We're looking forward to seeing it too, so I'm excited what you do.
Thanks, both of you, so much. We'll talk soon.
Okay.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks so much for joining me today as Sean, Gina, and I chatted about Florvana and all that's top of mind for navigating the floral marketplace against the backdrop of constant change. As I mentioned, I'm super excited for you to join the course that Rob and Avni and I are presenting, The Journey from Blog to Book. Our course is designed for every creative person we've met who dreams of sharing their art, craftsmanship, and aesthetic in a book. As a tangible artifact, there is amazing social validation that comes with having a book about your work. A book can narrate your story, teach your concepts, and document your work. We believe successful books are driven by a passion that answers the following. What are you compelled to share? What do you have to offer that will make the world a better place? What is your unique point of view? This course will introduce you to the basic checklist to guide you through our book development idea process and cover our visual and verbal storytelling philosophy at Bloom Imprint. And as Sean and Gina discussed, you can attend Florvana live for free if you register via the course ticket link in my show notes. Those free sessions are open only for a small window each day of the conference. So if you think you want to enjoy at your leisure, you can purchase the VIP bundle for a modest amount. That gives you all access to the 20 plus presentations and an invitation to an exclusive Q&A roundtable with instructors each day, March 5th through 7th. I hope to see you there. Our next sponsor thank you goes to The Gardener's Workshop, which offers a full curriculum of online education for flower farmers and farmer florists. Online education is more important this year than ever, and you'll want to check out the course offerings at thegardenersworkshop.com. Last week, we hosted Sean and Allison McManus of Spoken Garden and authors of The First Time Gardener, Growing Plants and Flowers. We invited listeners to share their comments following the show notes at deborahprinzing.com for episode 492. And all those who took the time to comment by Sunday were entered into a drawing for a giveaway of the First Time Gardener book. We had a random drawing of names, and our winner is Lee James, who wrote this. Love the book photos. I wish I had known about propagation earlier. I could have had so many more plants by now. Oh, that's so true, Lee. Thanks to Quarto Books for the donation, and Lee will get your address to them this week so you can receive the book. Our final sponsor thank you goes to the Association of Specialty Cut Flower Growers. Formed in 1988, ASCFG was created to educate, unite, and support commercial cut flower growers. Its mission is to help growers produce high-quality floral material and to foster and promote the local availability of that product. Learn more at ascfg.org. Thanks so much for joining us today. The Slow Flowers podcast has been downloaded more than 691,000 times by listeners like you. Thank you for listening, commenting, and sharing. It means so much. As our movement gains more supporters and more passionate participants who believe in the importance of our domestic cut flower industry, the momentum is contagious. I know you feel it too. I value your support and invite you to show your thanks to support Slow Flowers' ongoing advocacy, education, and outreach activities. You can find the donate button in the column to the right at deborahprinzing.com. I'm Deborah Prinzing, host and producer of the Slow Flowers podcast. Next week, you're invited to join me in putting more slow flowers on the table, one vase at a time. And if you like what you hear, please consider logging onto iTunes and posting a listener review. The content and opinions expressed here are either mine alone or those of my guests alone, independent of any podcast sponsor or other person, company, or organization. The Slow Flowers podcast is engineered and edited by Andrew Brenlin. Learn more about his work at soundbodymovement.com.